Afternoon all. I'd like to show you a very interesting game of Capablanca against Milner-Barry, who is a very interesting player indeed. This was played at the seaside resort of Margate in England in 1935. Milner-Barry is very interesting. He worked for the British Civil Service, and so he was like a chess amateur. He wasn't able to devote all his time to chess. He was part of the team that worked at Bletchley Park. So alongside the famed cryptanalyst and mathematician Alan Turing and British chess stalwarts Conel, Hugh and Harry Golombek, and they cracked the German Enigma codes. He also worked for the Treasury after the war, and in tournaments he came second at Hastings 1953. He played on 4 English Olympic squads from 1937 to 56. And was chess correspondent for the Times. Probably you know of his gambits. He invented a few interesting opening variations, but one of the most interesting was against the French defence. Just quickly, I'll show you this. The Milner-Barry gambit against the French defence is in the advanced variation, where White doesn't mind about the pressure on d4, plays bishop d3 here. For the moment, there's a little trap that taking as bishop b5 check. So black plays bishop d7, but white still just lets the d pawn be taken. So he invented this way of playing, and even offering the e5 for a massively accelerated development initiative. So the Milner-Barry gambit got his name. But in this game, playing black, I think he had tried to prepare something very interesting against e4. So let's have a look. He played e5. And after knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, a6, so Morphy defense, bishop a4, knight f6, Capablanca castled. And here, probably this is part of preparation. Usually black just plays bishop e7 or b5, or taking here on e4, bishop c5, so archangelist kind of system with black. c3, now usually black plays b5 in this position, a quick b5. Most of the games are now with b5, for example, like this, and we get this kind of, it's very theoretical nowadays, but at the time of this game, Milner-Barry played actually a quick bishop a7, just tucking the bishop voluntarily on a7, still eyeing the f pawn, pinning that down, so it looks potentially quite dangerous. So what are the implications of this bishop over here? Let's find out. Capablanca played d4, so he doesn't mind about his e pawn. Is that a bit unsafe to take? Well, black actually did take it. Usually black castles here, so maybe this is part of preparation. If castling, we get this what seems to be a nasty ping because the bishop's over here, and play could continue a bit like this. I know it looks a bit odd, but apparently this is okay for black. Some technical analysis there anyway. That sort of thing might actually be okay, but Milner-Barry dared to take the e pawn, so this could have been part of preparation, because black now has this idea of supporting like with f5. And is this so bad? Well, something is potentially exposed about it. Capablanca simply plays knight bd2 and black castled, and now this is very accurate play from Capablanca, trying to exploit the fact that the bishop's over here and not on this diagonal. So what we see here is knight takes e4, f takes e4, and can you guess I think it's a very accurate move from Capablanca in this position, and we'll put on a Kapitza. What would you play here? I think it's a very strong move. Although maybe, just taking the pawn is good as well. So I won't leave it 10 seconds. Bishop g5 was actually played, which is actually a very good move as well as just taking on e4. But nevertheless, in both cases, potentially this bishop is a problem bishop on a7. And here, it is a major problem already. If knight e7, that looks a bit awkward. White can just take here, and we've got awkward pressure now emerging. How is black actually handling this pressure without losing material? So Milner-Barry is already in a little bit of trouble. He moves his queen to e8. So things have gone wrong, even at move 11, after rook takes e4, because actually with the bishop still on this diagonal, this is a real pain. And you might think, well, can't black just kick this bishop? The thing is, kicking the bishop now, I think white can just fling in a check and then win more material. So if king here, then knight takes e5. That's very, very unpleasant. So b5 doesn't really help matters. So already black's in a difficult position. But he plays d6, and you might think, well, this f file could be useful, this pin could be useful. How is this going to be dealt with? Capablanca doesn't seem to care at all about this potential. He plays actually d takes e5. And if we look at this position, it is a little bit tricky. The rook is covering the nasty pin possibility, and if bishop f5, then white might have a good move here in the form of rook f4, and this is a bit of a pain actually, because remember this knight is pinned to the queen. So if d takes, actually there's another problem in this position in the form of check here, because here with the pressure on b7, rook takes f5 is possible, with queen takes b7, and we've got a very nasty position here indeed for black, having to lose material like that. So these possibilities are quite frightening, that actually this bishop doesn't seem to have bishop f5 to kick the rook. So how can actually black exploit the f-file pressure? Black tries queen g6, asking the rook to move back, and I think this is a key move of the game really, which Capablanca plays here, and I might have hinted at it. What would you play here with white if I gave you 10 seconds starting from now? Okay, it's an exceptionally strong move in the circumstance. If we move the rook, say here, let's give an example, then black will be fine after knight takes e5, because the queen's bearing pressure on g5 here. So I think knight takes e5. There's also pressure, of course, on f2 now. So bishop takes f2 check is possible. And then not queen g5, because there's queen d5 check, but actually d takes e5 is good enough for black to be doing well here. So there is potential pressure on this f-file, which has to be dealt with basically. If the rook moved back, then we've got the nasty pin possibilities. We've got rook takes f3. That's delightful. So Capablanca plays a super accurate move, which embarrasses the black position. Basically, rook f4, and white has got very serious threats now as well. Including, I think, these check possibilities are potentially quite dangerous. At the moment, there's bishop e6, but let's see. So what does black do to rook f4? Well, that f-file pressure is kind of neutralized with the rook exchange. Black did actually just take the rook here, but what else can he do? If he plays bishop f5, then e takes d6, and then we've got queen d5 check is good, for example, and then just taking here. This is very, very nice for white. What else to do here? If rook takes f4, then bishop takes f4, and it's supporting the e5 pawn. So that's not very nice either. There's no real time for black to try and exploit things. If bishop h3 here, then actually just knight g5, and again we're emphasizing the checks around the place. So there's no big deal there for black. So there's no dynamic. It seems that the dynamic play is actually extinguished after this key move, rook f4 here. I can't really see anything, nor can engine see anything that great for white to do here. What is white actually threatening though if black continued, say bishop e6? Say bishop e6, bishop c2, where does the queen move? If it moves to h5, try and keep the queen aggressive, and just e takes d6. And the rook's really just stifled black's counterplay. If we try and get counterplay for black here, say with rook f8, then this doesn't really do much. There are various options for white, including even bishop b3. doesn't really do much at all. So black just took on f4 basically after this rook f4, just took on f4, hoping for a little bit of play. He played bishop g4, and of course there's a weakness of the last move now with bishop g4. Can you spot it? If I give you 10 seconds starting from now, there's a massive weakness of the last move, and black is never given time to generate any counterplay along that f file, even though the bishop's also ready, to do something with the f file on f2. But white has in this position very, very strong move. In fact, many strong moves, but the strongest is arguably what was played. Okay, I hope you can spot it. It's come off protecting b7. In fact, the check here seems very effective. But there's even probably other moves. Just taking on d6 is good. So, but the check is good, very good as well. So what does black actually do here? If he retreats the bishop, we're just going to take on b7. He played black actually played queen f7 here, and even here, even though the queen's attacking f4, white's position is actually so strong that this is good as well. Here, if rook b8, we can just take here and not mind f4. The check here is very, very good. I mean, this is very, very good. It's all gone downhill already in this position. But white plays actually another very good move, just knight g5, using that pin on the queen, and encouraging black now to take on b3. And this is very, very unpleasant off the check here. Black's losing even more material. His best move, one of his best moves, would be to play king f8 or d5, and he just material down really. If king f8, then we just take on d6. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 pawns up. We could just simply take on d6. But here actually, black just resigns after this this position, after bishop b3 check. His whole preparation has basically been to generate any counterplay. It's been extinguished. So I think a key move here earlier in the game was this rook f4. So even though it looked as though things were potentially quite dangerous, it's actually a really key move to extinguish any counterplay. This rook f4, still defending that bishop against bishop g4s, and once that rook came off, then there's hardly any pressure on f3 to speak of. And in fact, it was the weakness of the last move then being exploited. This check on b7 later. So this was a key move which got rid of counterplay. And it seems as though overall Milner-Barry, he played badly, but really it was the very, very accurate play of Capablanca which exposed this opening line as being busted basically. I hope you enjoyed that. Comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.